We're back for a Chris McPherson show, Daily Dose, talking Wimbledon, and I am flying solo today. Apologies, we did drop yesterday's episode after some technical difficulties meant that the episode we'd recorded wasn't quite at a usable quality, so we're working on that, and hopefully today is much better. And, well, it's been some first 2 days at Wimbledon. A record equaling 23 seeds eliminated across the men's and women's draws in the first round. 40% of the top 10 seeds in both sides, the men's and women's draws, gone. No longer here with us. That's 4 out of each of the top 10. The draws have opened up, and it's peculiar, it's interesting, and it's opportunistic time for a lot of other players outside of the seeds. It's been a massacre of top talent, that is for sure. While both top seeds survived, Jannik Sinner and Aryna Sabalenka, they've gone through. It was a veritable dishonour roll of the who's who that was eliminated. On the women's side, the number 2 seed, Coco Gauff, the number 3 seed, Jessica Pegula, the number 5 seed, Zheng Xinwen, and the number 9 seed, Paula Badosa, headlining the women's exits. For the men, Alex Zverev, the 3rd seed, Lorenzo Musetti, the 7th seed, Holger Rune, the 8th seed, and Daniil Medvedev, the 9th seed, were top 10 seeds who bowed out in the first 2 days of action. They were the biggest names of all, but far from the only ones. Even our Aussie hope, Alexei Popyrin, stumbled at the first opportunity in the first time of asking and is gone from Wimbledon 2025. It was a mix of shock, upsets, and then there was a few that some people called. You might recall, if you tuned into our earlier episode, that Christian Monaghan called the Coco Gauff exit. He also called the Holger Rune exit. He predicted them here leading into day one. There were some of them that there was foreshadowing. There was some where you saw the signs. There was some that absolutely blindsided a lot of tennis fans, and the volume of them certainly did. But as I said, where these names fall, opportunity opens for others, and we might just see the emerging of a new name, the emerging of someone else, or the re-emergence or return of another star who might have fallen away from the limelight just for the time being. Only time will tell. We've got 12 more days of action, so let's look ahead into day 3 and see what we're going to pick apart. Let's start with Aussie Watch, and wow, it's notably thinner. The only thing falling faster than the seeds was the Aussies on day 1. Jordan Thompson, the sole Australian from the 7 in action, who managed to make it through to the second round. He fought back from 2 sets down against Czech Vit Kapriva, where it looked like he may have been joining the exodus of Australians heading back to the land down under, and managed to claw his way back through into the second round in 5 sets. He had to dig deep. He is the 3rd-ranked Australian, and he showed that Aussie grit. He comes up against a surprise packet, Frenchman Benjamin Bonzi. Bonzi was one of those who ousted seeds in surprising fashion, knocking out a man who was considered by many a dark horse for this tournament, Daniil Medvedev. Medvedev gone, as we said, the 9th seed goes home. Benjamin Bonzi comes on, and that means an opportunity for Jordan Thompson. There's only 3 seeded players now sitting in their path to the quarterfinals. That is a huge opportunity for both of these players, 2 unheralded, not that well-known players sitting on the fringes, and a chance here, if they can win through this second round, to start making an advance and really making a name for themselves. The biggest danger, Taylor Fritz. Should they get through to the 4th round, it is likely they'll face the 5th seed, although based on the current run sheet, who knows what will happen. The winner will play the winner of Britt Ferry and Didari, the Italian. So again, an opportunity in the 3rd round to play an unseeded player and potentially look to advance through. Thompson will know that he can't take Bonzi lightly. Again, he knocked out Daniil Medvedev, a man who has been deep in many, many Grand Slams. But I have to say, I think Jordan Thompson heads into this one as the favourite. The Aussie hope on day 3. Let's get behind him. I've got Jordan Thompson taking this one out in 4 sets. We know he can go deep. He doesn't want to use too much petrol just yet, though. Hopefully it doesn't need to go to 5, but if it does, he's got the distance and the ability to go there, but I'm going Thompson in 4 for this one. As I said, he's the sole Aussie in action, so let's move on to the women's action. There's some big matches here. There's also some peculiar matches and some less familiar names. We're going to focus in on a couple of these. The first, let's talk about the women's draw with Emma Raducanu, the hometown hope. She has come through into the second round, and she takes on Marketa Vondrousova. This will be the last match on centre court. It will bring the home crowd into raptures. Vondrousova leads their head-to-head matchup 2-1. They've just clashed once on grass, and it was here at Wimbledon in 2021 when a Raducanu, as a wild card, knocked out Vondrousova in the second round of 2021's Wimbledon. Raducanu has only failed to make it beyond the second round here at Wimbledon once in 2022 from her three attempts thus far. However, Vondrousova has only made it past the second round once in 6 attempts. And that was 2023. And if we remember what happened there, she went all the way. So it's really hard to read the form lines here. Vondrousova's power has been electric. We talked about her earlier on day one. She is building well. She won a title in the lead-up. She is dangerous. Raducanu will have the weight of the home fans behind her, however. I'm going to lean to Vondrousova here. I think that she sets up a really interesting matchup in the third round, which we'll get to in a moment. I think she gets it done in 3. The home crowd will keep Raducanu in this, but I just think Vondrousova's resilience will be too strong. We know that she's got the class. Raducanu has class. I don't know that carrying the weight of the home fans is going to help her, though. I think it will hinder her. So Vondrousova to take this one in 3. Next up, the winner of this match will play the winner of the Vondrousova and Raducanu match, and it is the number 1 seed in Arena Sabalenka up against Marie Buzkova. This will kick off the day on centre court, and it's an intriguing matchup. They've never clashed before on grass. Buzkova can be a handful here, we know this. She's a former top 25 player who can mix it with the best, but she can be a little inconsistent. Sabalenka, in the meantime, the runaway number 1, who at her best should win this tournament in a canter now that some of the other top 5 seeds, 3 of them, have gone by the wayside, with Goff, Pegula already gone. Her reward for a win here, as I said, would be a clash with that winner of Raducanu and Vondrousova. I think her power will be too much for Buzkova. She wouldn't have been pumped when she looked at this draw and saw that Buzkova was a likely opponent in round 2 and Raducanu or Vondrousova were the likely opponents in round 3. It is not an easy draw by any means for Sabalenka, but again, she is the world number 1 with a bullet. She's clear by some distance ahead of the rest of the pack, and that will open up even more if she goes deep here in Wimbledon with those other seeds falling. I think Sabalenka's power is just going to be far too much here, and I'm really seeing this as setting up as a mouth-watering clash in round 3 with Marketa Vondrousova, who I think will really challenge Sabalenka and could be the Achilles heel for Sabalenka. But I've got Sabalenka in straight sets. Just too much power in this one. The next match in the women's we're going to have a look at is the 4th seed, the remaining of the top 4 seeds. Jasmine Paolini, she takes on Kamila Rakimova, the 80th ranked player in the world. They've only met once before and it's on hard courts. And Paolini now, with some of these seeds falling, has an opportunity here to work her way through and drive deep into this tournament and a potential semi-final matchup with Sabalenka should she get there. This should be a match that Paolini can use her game and guile to control. She should be looking to build a run here to target going one better than her runner-up performance in 2024. Historically, Paolini's only ever progressed past that first round once here, and that was last year where she made the final. So she's done it again. Can she go on a run? She will need to go deep here to protect her ranking points and stay in the top 5 of the world. There's a lot of movement and a lot of players congested very tight in the current WTA rankings. And that's going to be crucial when we come to the other slams. So when we come to the US Open later in the year and potentially even the Australian Open early next year. Rakimova, on the other hand, she can be a wild card. Her game could prove challenging for Paolini. However, this is only the 3rd time in the last 12 Grand Slams where she's got past the first round. So in reality, if Paolini is eyeing a deep run here at Wimbledon, she needs to use this as a launch pad and get it done in straight sets. And that's exactly how I see this playing out. Jasmine Paolini should make this comfortably through into the 3rd round. The final women's match to pull apart is Naomi Osaka versus Katerina Siniakova. We talked about Siniakova and Osaka on day 1. It's a former major champion on a roller coaster comeback trail versus the world's best females doubles player. Not exactly a headline in the making, but it is an intriguing clash. We've seen glimpses of Osaka's pedigree in return. Most notably, we saw some really strong early performances at the French Open in 2024. It even looked like she was going to upset the run of Iga Swiatek, who at the time was the world number 1 in a 3-set thriller. That top line deliver, however, hasn't been there consistently, and that's the challenge for Osaka. She made relatively light work of Talia Gibson, the Aussie, in the first round, winning 6-4, 7-6. On the other side of the net, Siniakova, for the second time in 3 years, as we alluded to and we suggested may happen, knocked out Zhong Xinwen, the 5th seed, in the first round. It was 3 sets, but she was accelerating towards the finish as she took the 3rd set 6-1 to knock Zhong out. At her best, Osaka is the pick. She's got a higher ceiling. However, she's also got a lower floor. She hasn't been past the Grand Slam second round since 2022 in the Australian Open and hasn't made the last 16 since she last won a major in 2021, also at the Australian Open. Siniakova, however, is misconsistent. She plays close to a ranking range of 50 to 80 where she spent most of her career. On paper, Osaka should win if she's anywhere around her best, but Siniakova could frustrate her with her shot making and Osaka has to win the power battle here and get it done. Ideally for Naomi Osaka, she should be getting this done in 2. If it goes deep, Siniakova only grows. I think it'll go to 3, and Osaka will have to do her work to get out of the blocks hard in the 3rd and get it closed out. But I'd tip Osaka, not with a huge amount of confidence, but with a slight lean. Let's turn it to the men's now, and let's talk Jiri Lehecka versus Matteo Bellucci. We talked about Lehecka, his form on grass. The Czechs love the grass. They're performing well here at Wimbledon already. He came in good form out of Eastbourne. Bellucci, he got through qualifying in the first round and into the first round at Eastbourne before he fell to home hope Billy Harris. He doesn't have a lot of runs on the board here on grass, the Italian, and I think Lehecka should be getting this done in 3. And I have him as a dark horse for going quite deep in his tournament alongside some of his other countrymen and countrywomen. It is only the 2nd time for Bellucci that he's been past the first round of a slam. So again, all things falling in Lehecka's favour. Next up, we've got Felix Auger-Aliassime versus Jan-Lennard Struff. Struff, we know, can be a giant killer. He's knocked over some big names in these draws. He loves playing the spoiler. We talked about it on day 1. If Felix wants to make a run, this was a perfect opportunity. This Grand Slam is the time for him to deliver his consistency. And he has that opportunity now as seeds fall and make way around him. It's an opportunity for him to shine. It's an opportunity for him to show us his best. Whether he can do that or not is the big question for Felix. We know the Canadian is a phenomenal player at his best, a big booming serve, a strong follow-up with that. He can play from the baseline and he can deliver, and he should do here again, but Struff's going to be a challenge. Again, the winner of this has a chance to run deep. I'm going to go and back FAA. We haven't seen his best for a long time, but he needs to get this one done. I think it's going to go deeper than he might like, and it's going to be a 4 or 5 setter, probably 4. If it goes to 5, the needle starts to tip back into Struff's favour. He's a grinder, he's a hustler, he's a worker. So I've got FAA getting this one done in 4 sets. And finally, this one's a matchup for the home fans. Cam Norrie, the British hope, comes up against Frances Tiafoe. Tiafoe, the 12-seeder, much improved American. Grass not necessarily his favourite surface, but it can sit well with his game. Norrie, he's been one of the great white hopes for England a number of times and hasn't delivered. Is this the chance for him now that some seeds are falling and he can go a long way into this tournament? It's going to be an interesting matchup. It's going to be a straight-up battle for these two. Who do we like? I think it has to be Tiafoe. His form at the French gave me hope, and I think that Norrie will frustrate and challenge him. But I think Tiafoe will be too strong, and he'll win this one in 4 sets over Cam Norrie, despite the support of the home crowd. This one will open up the number 1 court, and I think that there won't be enough home support in early Tiafoe to get it done and get it done before the crowd can build. That closes out our Day 3 preview. We're looking forward to trying to deliver you previews each and every day. Make sure to stay tuned on Thursday for our weekly show on our YouTube channel as well as more daily doses coming around some of our other sporting events, including State of Origin and a couple of other things that are hitting the radar at the moment. Until then, enjoy your sporting landscape. We look forward to talking to you again in the next couple of days.